Welcome to the intro episode of the Weekly Juice podcast. My name is Ryan Bevilacqua, and I'm joined alongside here with my co-host, Cory Jacobson. The purpose of this podcast is to provide real, tangible advice and real-life stories of people working through their investing journeys. We'll cover an abundance of topics, including real estate, financial independence, time, happiness, and having your money work for you. Over time, we'll have a wide array of guests interviewed throughout the series who have created their own path in financial freedom. We aim to have their stories motivate and assist you on achieving your dreams. So we welcome you and thank you for being on board.
I think the first, we're going to talk about the reason why we thought to start the podcast. Okay. And my main reason is to talk about how, there's these gurus that are always presenting information, and it looks like you're like looking up a mountain to try to find how this person got to where they are, right? But what I'd like to do is present information to people that's like simplified, that two guys in their 20s, late 20s, we're kind of taking step by step to try to create financial freedom for ourselves. We're trying to really live a free, happy, and fulfilling life without try to run through the rat race for the next 40 years. And then finally, when you're 65, get to enjoy it. So I think that a lot of it's just like, jump on board, come along with us. Like, we're just normal guys, but we're really taking step-by-step ways to try to get there. And we like to talk to people who are kind of around the same age and around the same steps that we are. So you're not like, oh, listening to Gary Vee, who's, he's worth $100 million. Like, it's hard to relate. So that's kind of the way I see it.
Cool.
Look, I have a genuine desire to help others achieve their goals. So hopefully that we can help people do that just by having them listen in and learn from us. Like you, for example, you're starting to really get into real estate. You bought a house. You're planning on renting it out one day. And how do you what are you end up doing in the next 10 years
I think real estate's the main goal here at the end of the day, to bring in that passive income while you're still working, and then kind of eventually break out and work for yourself, whether it starts with creating your own company, creating an LLC, partnering with other people on deals. But you're just seeing it time and time again. Even look at right now what's going on in the world. Like, coronavirus hits, everything's getting rocked. The stock market's getting rocked. My 401k is getting rocked. It took so long for things to build, and then without any of your control, things can slip away. Where I want something tangible, something sticky. Like, I know I can see the real estate. I know I can feel it. It's something that I can change and manipulate to enhance value over time.
Yeah.
And it's intriguing, right? Like, there's so many different ways you can invest, which I think is great. I think for young people today, like a little bit younger than us, which I would have started, you did it the right way. But if we could have started younger, it's like house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Like, buy a piece of property, you live in it, and then your roommates help pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
You're getting so many different benefits from that, from mortgage pay down, a little bit of cash in your pocket. And then,
and I think, Jake, obviously our producer, right? He's my roommate. So he's helping me pay my mortgage, but I'm also providing him with a good place to live for probably at a similar market rent, or maybe even cheaper than what he'd be paying elsewhere. And he's living with his friends. So it kind of helps in both ways. But yeah, I think that's the best way to start if you're in your young 20s, for sure. Buy a property, get some friends. You have your Court's younger brother, right? He's doing that, right?
I was gonna say, he just saw us get our place, right? And we were talking about a bunch of things. Him and I almost started a clothing line. We almost started like a bunch of different things. We were like, how can we generate revenue for ourselves while we still have income coming in from our normal 9-to-5s? And we would sit up late after a night going to the bars, and just like, we'd be chatting, and his dad would always come down and see us in the kitchen, just like, what are you guys doing? We're trying to figure out what we're doing with our lives. We don't know. And similar to what you and I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I just started listening more and more to Bigger Pockets. And then you see Grant Cardone everywhere, and like all these big names. I'm like, what are they doing? And there's some stat with like 80% of millionaires or something like that, 89% of millionaires / billionaires own real estate, and that's how they got their start.
Yeah.
Awesome story for that I saw Schwarzenegger. Everyone knows him for his movies, his bodybuilding, but he made his first $1 million by buying a triplex out in California. And I was like, that's amazing. No one knows it. And then he's got all this money, and obviously like he leveraged it in certain ways, but a lot of people are just, at least our age, are just spending their money on renting and paying the bills, and they're not stashing away any cash. So I was talking to my brother-in-law about this. I'm like, dude, rather than pump a bunch of money into a clothing brand right now, like we can do that later if we want, but get your money in real estate while you can. And,
you know why? Because it's proven. Like it's proven over time. You don't have to be Steve Jobs and reinvent the wheel here. Like you can just follow what other successful people have done to get there, right? Like I think Pat's doing, like, it's such a good idea.
I mean, put it this way, you and I are not rocket scientists. We're just getting our start in it, but it already makes sense. Like I have one, you have two, 3 doors now?
2 doors.
So I would like, what's the difference, would you say, between your first one and your second one? What have you learned? What's more difficult?
Well, all right. So like, let's back up here. Let's talk about my why I got started in all of this anyway, right? I think that'll kind of give you a good lead in. Like, so I've always been of the mindset that like, I want to create this freedom for myself, right? So I want to create enough cash flow from rentals to pay for my expenses, my daily life expenses, right? So that way, when I get enough rentals and I keep my expenses low, if I build it up to a certain level, I am essentially financially free. So I knew that Jake and Dave were going to be able to move into a place with me. So I had that in mind, that I just needed a place where I could have their rent subsidize my mortgage. It doesn't really matter how much, as long as you know that you're subsidizing it in some way. So that, let's call it 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't matter how much money, but it's, instead of going to your spending elsewhere, it's going to paying your mortgage down and creating a lifestyle where you don't have to spend all your money at the bars or, on clothes and stuff like that. So with my second property, I knew I had to buy it as an investment property. So I had to put more money down, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're managing tenants, right? So you have to put together leases, and I think that's stuff that we could probably talk about in further episodes, but it all starts with the fact that for me, my time is my most valuable resource, not money. I don't need to be a billionaire. It just doesn't make sense for me. And I think a lot of people would realize that they don't actually need to be like billionaires.
No, I do. I have to be one.
Oh, okay. Well, you do.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I mean, a lot of people do. Maybe you do. Maybe you do want that much money, but I think that like you realize that you keep your expenses low, and you can, instead of chasing money your whole life, you can kind of get to a point where you have this freedom to be like, what do I really want to do? Like, what drives me? What are my passions about? That'll free up your time. So I don't know if I fucking answered your question at all, but
it was great, dude.
No,
it makes sense. Put it this way, I just basically want to know your why, like why you started everything, like why do you actually care about this? Why, like, it ties into why we even are doing this podcast, right? Like, at the end of the day, you like to give back, you like to help people, but at the end of the day, you want to create your own life and your own path, and not have to work for anyone else. Like, you want to stamp your own stamp on life, right? And have it Cory Jacobson's. So, and I'm the same way. So that's why we think a lot alike, and we have similar visions.
So where do you see yourself? Like, okay, well, a couple questions. Like, how did this fire start? How did your fire start? Like, what made you realize that this was this sort of like financial independence, investing journey was like what's right for you? When did you?
So you start, like, it goes way back to my dad and his brothers. They all had their own businesses. They're all entrepreneurs. They work. One's construction, one's paving, one's craning. It's all blue collar, but then they also do real estate too on the side. Like, it's all interwoven. And the end of the day, my dad taught me at a young age, he's like, dude, at some point, you want to work for yourself. You don't want to be going 9 to 5 and having to listen to someone else's rules. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like I listened to it, right? But then it doesn't hit you until you actually start doing something.
Yeah.
So right out of school, you start a job, right? And then you're making a certain amount of money, but then like, at least for my parents and stuff, like they're going on trips and like they can afford certain things. And I'm like, I'm just trying to save a couple bucks here. Like how is he doing this over such a long period of time?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started like researching more. And I'm like, I got to work for myself in some capacity and like at least have something else coming in to make that dough at the end of the day. Right.
Yeah.
So my basically like my why is like, I want to create a legacy for my kids. Like I want to be better than my dad was, which is going to be extremely hard. Right. Like that was his goal for me too. He's always said, he's like, Bobby, that dude, best. He's just like, at the end of the day, I'll give you the tools. Here's your toolbox, and you go create your own life. And I don't care. You don't have to jump in my business if you don't want. You can, but at the end of the day, like, here's your toolbox. I want you to have your own life and kind of create it your own way, so you're happy. And I thought that was, really cool. So for me, one important thing to discuss is like time is our most valuable resource, something we can't get back. So for me, I aim to build another income stream so that I can provide flexibility for my life, right? So I think over time, it's important to have your money work for you rather than you consistently work for it. So I think there's a bunch of different ways you can add additional revenue streams, and we'll talk about a bunch of them in future episodes. So it's not specifically just real estate all the time. I know people are going to be interested in other things, but wanted to get across the point of, for us, and I think for anyone looking to find financial freedom, you don't want to wake up at the age of 65 and only have your 401k to lean on.
It's 95% of America. That's the sad part. So like, I think that your why ties into your vision so I always said, like, what's my vision in 10 years? I can't get anywhere unless I like lay out this framework for like what I want my life to be at a specific point. I think that's what a lot of people need to focus on. Like, a lot of people our age are kind of just like going through the motions. They're like chugging along and they're like, well, I'm living for the weekend. I'm doing this, that. And I'm not like this almighty like entrepreneur that's like, do this, follow these rules. I think that there's just like a simple path to get there, right? So for me, it's like, what do I see myself 10 to 15 years? My goal was to buy one property a year. And in 15 years, I'm 28, I'll be 43. I'll have all of the properties that I own will pay for my lifestyle. And then I won't have to physically work. I will work because I love working, but I'm going to do the type of work that I want to do. So
right.
That's similar for you. Like
it's almost the same exact thing. And I hate to say that, but like, I do like working. That's the thing. Like I could never just have these properties, right, and then sit on them.
You won't. That's just not your personality. Like you're not.
It's just not. No, it won't. But it allows freedom, right? That's what I want to do. I want to be able to go travel back home, Massachusetts, see my family. I want to have give my parents grandkids and just have like.
Not even think about it. Like done.
Not even think about it. I just want to be able to do it and be like, hey, we're good, and like not have the wife at home just be like, oh, are we okay to do this? It's like, no, it's done. It's done. That's the best feeling of like, there's no strings attached. We're good. Let's go. Let's roll. Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it's in the works, and it's a long-term play, right? Like everyone today sees Instagram and they see all these people with all the money, the cars and all this stuff. And they're like, they get, it's almost this like mental trap where they're like, I'll never be there. So they stop trying, or they get super motivated, but they're like, how come I can't get it so fast? And it's a long-term play.
Great point. I think a lot of what our podcast is hopefully going to bring to people is like to take a step back and say, look, there's action steps that you can be taking every day, every week, every month to try to get there. And they're tangible. You can grab them. They're easy. And it's like, guess what? You're going to get knocked down a couple pegs every day. Like right now, I'm worried about my tenants. Like they might not pay rent. It's uncontrollable. It's something I can't control. But if you just keep fucking hitting that punching bag every day in some capacity, again, I'm not saying like you have to work 24 hours a day. I'm not like, this is Nazi Germany over here. I'm saying that like, you just do one thing every day to help you get closer. Before you know it, you have 3 rentals, and then you'll have 5, and then you'll have 6. And it just, people need to not get discouraged about what they're seeing on social media. It's a problem, man. There's 23-year-olds that, you know what they did? They made it. They're like Justin Bieber's. Those people exist.
Or Bitcoin or some like strange little, like, it just worked.
It happens, but it's like, you have to have this mental fortitude to be like, I kind of see where I'm going. So that's the majority of the problem that I think people suffer from, and I did up until like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I was like, everyone's like, you're going through the motions, and it's like, where do you really see yourself? Like for me, I love coaching hoops, coach basketball.
Yep.
And I want to be able to do that on a full-time basis at the high school level. Guess how much that shit pays? Nothing, right? So it's like you have to create this life where, and I chose to do it with real estate. So I hope that
it's going to open more avenues for you down the line too, right? Like you might think real estate's all of it right now, and we might all, but there's other. It's just going to open other investments for you, right? And you'll have the cash to do it. What's Jake
Dave
laughing at?
walked in and said,
Oh God.
no,
Dave said that? No way.
go ahead.
Definitely gonna have to cut that part out. Oh God. What was I
I
saying?
didn't cut you off there. You're in the middle of a thought.
Oh no. I was two things. Like, main thing is there's some quote out there that says like you're equal to the top 5 people, or the 5 people you surround yourself with the most,
It's
right?
or you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time.
There you go. So at the end of the day, I think for our podcast here, like it's an unconventional way of networking, and that's like one of the goals here too. Like I think it's cool to and a good idea to bring like-minded people with or just driven people with cut from different cloths all into one virtual world here that can chat and just go over what they want to accomplish in life and what have they done so far to see success, and how can we help each other out and push each other and grow, and how to help each other get better. So that's one thing I'm excited about. I mean, for us, we're not trying to be like these secret tellers, these moguls. Like we don't know everything, but I think it's just a cool spot for people to come and have conversation and help each other out and push each other forward.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is like, how can what we're consistently doing like help you and what you're doing? That's really the idea. So hopefully people will jump on board, give a listen. We'll be able to, provide. And I think this first episode is really just to explain like a little bit about us and like the overall vision, but we're going to dive into details too. Cause like, I want to provide that to someone who's like, okay, Cory, I get it. You have 3 rentals. How did you start? Like, how did that even happen? What do you do first? Where's the first phone call you make? Like, I want to tell people that. I think it'll help people, especially to get started when you're young. Like, it can only help to start now.
A lot of people even get confused. We can definitely dive into this in another episode, but basically, like, how do you have the cash to even try or start? And it starts with
the fear, right? It's scary to do it. Like that's
but like you have to save money too. Like it's not like you can just do it.
Well,
it's not like, oh yeah, I got over my fear, so I'm gonna do this. It's like, no, you have to have a nest egg. Like a lot of people are waking up during this time, coronavirus, quarantining, and all this stuff. They're waking up and they have no nest egg, and they're like, I hope to God I get this stimulus check, or I'm screwed. I have nothing to go off of. And I'm like, well, thank God I earlier in life learned certain lessons and read certain books, and people taught me certain things. Like I knew it was important to have at least a year's worth of savings just ready to go. If I lost my job, if Cory lost her job, like we're good. We're good for a whole year, if not longer. So I think that's important for people to have and people to do. And we can share certain things, but a lot of thoughts kind of scrambling.
Many episodes to come with that stuff. That's great.
All right. All right, Cory, let's take a step back here and just give people a little bit of background on us, how we met, and kind of why we're starting this whole podcast. So the purpose of this digital content, the Weekly Juice, is to provide real up-to-date documentation, the beginning of real estate investment journey for 2 young guys in their late 20s, how we kind of see our future evolving and how we can help other people from financial independence, time valuation, and the path towards, honestly, just living a meaningful life. Over time, we kind of want to share our development and action steps that we've taken so far to help us in the end goal, which is to be financially free and to live life on our own terms, essentially. So the idea is to kind of just show we're not gurus here, but show you what we're consistently doing and help facilitate in any way that we can. But the main priority is to bring people together and network unconventionally. So how can we each help each other out, share ideas, and get better overall as a group? So happy to answer any questions over time, but Cory, want to give a little background on you and kind of how you got started and what your goals are?
Yeah. So I got started in real estate about 3 or 4 years ago, and I bought a property in which two of my roommates, who happen to be my good friends, they live in the property, subsidized my mortgage. Call it house hacking if any of you guys listen to Bigger Pockets or other podcasts. And then in the past year, I purchased a duplex in New Jersey, and that's kind of my next step with another rental property, adding that on to equal to 3 doors. But yeah, so from the real estate perspective, kind of just started in the past 3 years. So I'm not really much ahead of anyone who hasn't started at all. Just a couple steps, and hopefully we can share, how I got there and how I got to where he is. A little bit more background about me. I full time, I work for my family's business. We're in signage and design. I'm in business development. I also coach high school hoops in the Philadelphia area. One of the passions of mine. Love it. Hopefully I can do that till I die. So other than that, that's the background, baby.
Love it. Similar story for me. Living and working in Philly the last 10 years. I work in the sports and entertainment industry. The main sector I kind of handle is client relations. So bringing people together and ensuring that people are having a good time doing what we do. So at the end of the day, I think it's interesting. We both, whether we know it or not, kind of started our real estate investing journey together. We were roommates before we broke off and started living our own separate lives. I think for me, it was kind of cool to see our landlord was a young guy, and I just wanted to know how he owned the house. How did he own a property and we were paying his mortgage? I thought it was very interesting. And we started chatting, and kind of we both took our own ways here. I ended up getting married, so had to unfortunately leave you, but ended up purchasing my first place up here close to one of the universities in the area. So my main goal is to rent this place out when I'm done. So we should be able to put someone in here. I think about all the time, like over this quarantine, we've been trying to enhance the value of it any way that we can. Then the next goal is to hopefully in this downturn here, it seems like it's going to be quite a dip coming up here in a lot of different industries. So hopefully scoop up a couple of properties here cheap and move forward. I already helped my brother-in-law purchase property. I didn't fork up any dough, but helped guide him along in the process a little bit. He's closing in about 30 days here at a place right in Philly, Center City. So he's pumped up. It'll be awesome for him to work from or have his buddies pay his rent, then walk to work. So a lot of different things. Just trying to share what we've learned and help other people out. And he's a perfect story so far.
Yeah, exactly. And even in the downturn that you're talking about, I think there's a lot of opportunity, right? Like how do you not just sit back and wait? How do you kind of take action steps? And a lot of things you can do right now is learning. That's part of the reason why we even started the podcast in the first place. Like if you can't physically leave your house right now, which sucks, you can learn. So like hopefully we can provide some of that over the next month or two while you're inside. Just listen in, learn, and maybe by the time this quarantine's over, you'll be ready to like, all right, let's make these moves. Let's see what these next steps are.
100%. I think a main thing here too, like obviously this is the first episode, but what we want is engagement, right? At the end of the day, like I want to hear what people want to hear. What should we talk about? Can we get guests on here that have something to share, something noteworthy that they want to help other people or they want to network in the area? I think that's going to be huge and exciting. You don't want to keep it bland on a daily basis, just the same topics over and over. So open forum, and I think it's going to be a blast.
Yep. And I think weekly, we're going to be putting this out here to provide you guys with content that you kind of want to hear. We're going to want to hear from you to help fill that too. I think even though we're young, we're in our late 20s, we have a decent network of people that we're going to be bringing on here to share what they've done. So you are going to get some people who actually know what they're doing, who have gone down the path. We'll kind of get into who we have on deck later in later podcasts, but I think you guys are really going to want to hear from these people. I think that they're smart. They're good business people, and they've been down the road that hopefully you want to go down. Yeah, so I want to end this first episode real quick with kind of our something to share portion of the show, and where we're going to kind of give you something to take away to hopefully maybe whether you can start it or between now and the next time we air. Like we said, we're going to giving you this content weekly. We're going to definitely stay consistent with that, and I think Rye will take away our something to share portion of episode 1 of the Weekly Juice Podcast. What do you got, Ryan?
Sure. Something to share from me. I've been reading, or I actually just finished The Alchemist. So it's an awesome book. I would say I highly recommend it for anyone, but it talks about a shepherd named Santiago who's kind of in search for a treasure throughout the book. And you come to find out he's chasing his personal legend, right? So like his legacy, like what is his dream in life and how is it going to come true? And a lot of different things happen along the way, but for me, why I personally love it is like my main goal in life is to leave a legacy for my kids and to put my stamp on life and have it in my own way. So one of the main factors or kind of, I guess, underlying tones throughout the book is like, if you put it out there and you share it with people, your goals and your dreams, your desires, the universe is going to help it happen and help it make it come true.
Yeah.
And this book is so old, but it applies to so
I
many
haven't read
different
that
things in
book.
life.
I need to get on that. You've been telling me about that for a while.
Yeah, it's the next one on your list. You have to. So I'd highly recommend it for anyone. Don't want to give away too much, but there's a couple books that have actually changed my life over time. I'll share them in future episodes, but this is definitely one. Highly recommend it.
Cool.
So that's The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Cool. I think we just finished our first episode, so hopefully you guys can join us next week. I think you're gonna like the next topic we're going to talk about. Ryan, anything else? Good to go. Signing off. Okay.
Let's just crack a stew, dude. Come on.
I know.
Do it.
I actually almost did. Thought
I'm
about
about to. I swear to God I will.
Where's the guy? Damn, dude. That's bad.